Hey everybody, today we're going to be making a sterling silver ring for a navel ring. I got this one at Walmart for about $1. It's an elephant. It looks a little antique. It's surgical steel. This is sterling silver gems. My soldering gun, pencil tip, very nice for delicate work. Just make sure the tip is clean. Just brush off debris from remaining soldering, metal bits and pieces that may be on the tip. Alright, we're going to be doing this a little bit backwards today. I'm going to be doing the magnifying glass through the camera. So you guys are going to be seeing the magnified version of it. I don't need to see the magnified version of it. It's not super small that I need to see all the details. You guys are going to see the up close version, and I will be working from the other side. Just make sure your clamps are holding it very securely. You don't want it to slip or slide down at all. Even a little crooked will be very crooked once the ring is on. This flux I'm using is for soldering jewelry in silver and surgical steel. If you are a beginner soldering, I would recommend using a different liquid flux. You do need a liquid flux for sterling silver. A paste flux will not bond as well. But if you're using the liquid flux, make sure it's very intermediate style. The flux I'm using is very toxic and you don't want to breathe in the vapors. It can knock you right out. Once I start soldering the flux will start steaming, and you breathing in those vapors is very harmful for you, and the flux itself can poison you. So make sure you're using a little less insane one. It doesn't need to be as professional as the one I'm using. Right now I am soldering a bead onto it. All you have to do is simply touch your soldering bar with your solder pen and it will melt right on. The pencil tip is really nice for getting very detailed around the edges, so it's not just a big glob. If you solder all the way around the outside, then it'll look very attached and not just like the front is attached. Make sure you do get the back as well and in the middle of the loop, so it doesn't look like you just glued it on pretty much.
I will name them my friends and my friends. What's happening? Okay, very safe. In the dungeon recovering from his wound. And now we can live long enough to feel the axe that is Maya's head from this traitor's body.
Would you both excuse me?
Of course.
Once you have soldered it, put some more flux on it. It will steam for a minute because my soldering pen does reach 1,000 degrees. Paint the flux on to the newly soldered part. It will smooth out the solder and it will make it shiny and will remove any of the heat damage if it did stain the color at all. So just paint the flux over it. That's also called pickling. If I were to just dunk the ring in solder pickle, it would kind of be the same thing. This works just as well. It doesn't really need to cool. In a couple of seconds it will be dry and completely soldered together. I'm just getting the back a little bit better with the flux, shining it up a bit, and as you can see, the ring is completely attached to the loop now.
I'll be dead. need to protect your future. You and all of your friends.
This next one I'm doing is a key. This one I also got at Walmart. Got them in a group of 3 for $1.
Cost many more lives than mine and my son's before she's done. I heard bold threats in Conde's camp. Warnings from Elizabeth's mercenaries.
Warnings? What warnings?
Elizabeth's campaign against Mary is more than politics. It's personal. She'll never give up till Mary's finished. Never.
Again, just make sure that your alligator clamps are securely holding them in place.
Right now, Verizon is offering unlimited talk and text, plus 10 gigs of shareable data. Yeah, 10 gigantic gigs for $80 a month and $15 per line. More data than ever. For more
Make sure it lines up just the way you want it and it's centered right on the middle of the ring. If you are going to use this flux that I'm using, you can get it at the Home Depot for special metal working soldering. However, it is very potent, and just make sure you're very careful with it.
She gets all my old hand-me-downs. Oh, I'm into bedazzling too. You admit that? Yeah, I used to be into bedazzling. I'll go get your phone.
Get the iPhone 6 with rollover data to share, only from AT&T.
You can kind of see the fumes coming off of the flux as soon as I pour it onto the hot metal. Yeah, I was breathing it in for a little while and it was starting to get to my head, so cover your nose. If you have like a face mask, you can wear that. But if you're doing it for a while and you are putting it on heated metal, it will cause fumes and it is very dizzying.
You wouldn't do half of your daily routine, so why treat your mouth any differently? Complete the job with Listerine. Kill up to 99% of germs and prevent plaque, early gum disease, and bad breath. Listerine, power to your mouth.
And this one is also finished. This next one I'm going to try is something that not everyone would be able to wear. It's really big, it's really heavy, and would be most uncomfortable for most people. But if you like the big, dangly, elaborate belly button rings, this one is probably for you. It's a heart with diamonds all over it. Not real diamonds. I pulled this one off of a necklace that I got from probably the buckle. Soldering it to also a sterling silver ring.
This is fear and superstition.
Mother, tell her that what she did to you. It's disturbing.
Delphine seduced me during the siege. She made me lie on a bloody shirt and ask for me. She worked at Spell. Claimed to have had carnal relations with Delphine on someone else's blood. I didn't feel like myself. She said I wasn't anymore. Gibberish started coming out of my mouth, and Delphine said it was hate.
She bewitched him.
I'll look into it. In the meantime, hold your tongues. Last thing we need is panic after the siege.
Make sure the flux doesn't get too far onto the back, otherwise when you're soldering, your solder may melt around it and you might have a bulge on the back of your belly button ring. Make sure to paint most of it off. Here I'm just showing you the top of it. The front. The side view from the magnifying glass is a little harder to see.
Because you don't want to be alone again? After watching your lover hang?
Make sure you smooth out the solder as you're doing it. If you just leave it in a clump, it can be not as great looking and may look messy. Again, don't breathe in this flux if this is the flux you're going to be using.
Please, rest. When Francis had me captured, it was Elizabeth who saved me. She would only continue to protect me if I made my claim on the crown. I came to want it. To believe if I knew France under my rule would be better. Yeah, I wanted you. You took a knife from me and I still want you. Is that madness?
I did love you.
But when it came to Francis, you saved him. Not because he's your king. Because your love for him is deeper, stronger.
This one I'm not going to take off the clamp as quickly. I let it hang here for a while because it is really heavy. I just wanted to make sure the solder sat well before I pull it off. I didn't want it to fall off.
You killed my son. He had been kidnapped, Lola and John. Betrayed for his life. If the crew failed. What? No, but the kidnapping was botched. John. My son. My infant son was killed during the attempt. You murdered my son. There's no mistake. I held John's blood in my hands. Captured one of his men. He confessed to everything. Nothing. I've done nothing. I killed him a long time ago. I will never harm you nor your son. I make again, and I will cut out your heart. My son is dead because of you.
I have this thing to put your soldering pen on when you're all finished. Make sure you do unplug it. Sometimes I forget, and this pen I have doesn't have a light on it, so I don't always know if it's plugged in or not. Make sure you check, make sure you unplug it, make sure you wipe off your paintbrush that you were putting the flux on with. Put everything back. Clean up your workstation. That's pretty much the basic soldering. You don't need a magnifying glass, just alligator clamps will do. If you don't have those, you can also just lay them on the table. Little baggie to protect them from pretty much anything that's just laying around your room. And that's about it. It's very inexpensive, it's very fun to do if you do want to try it.